All right, y'all, so my fifth real estate acquisition. Now, it's been taking me a while to make this video because honestly, it was kind of a painful experience. So we talked about my first one, which was my primary residence that I bought in law school. And then my second one was actually an inheritance. My third property, which was actually my first kind of on my own investment property, was the one that I bought in another state, sight unseen. My fourth, that same state, but I bought it before it was even listed. And so now my fifth. Now, the timeline is interesting because I was looking in Chicago around the same time that I was looking to purchase that fourth one, but it had been a long journey. So this was in 2022, right? Now we got to take it back a little so you can really understand the timeline here. So 2021, we still in the pandemic, after getting over the depression and the hopelessness, I finally decided like, all right, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna invest in real estate. I'm gonna take this seriously. I've saved a lot of money. I got this. So I bought a course and it was great, really great course. I devoured that course. Like literally after work every day, I would just do the course material. So it took me about 6 weeks to finish it. And I was on fire. Like I was ready. And I chose Chicago because the people that created the course were in Chicago and his entire network was in Chicago. His broker, like real estate broker, not agent. His lender was in Chicago. Like all the team was in Chicago. And so I kind of grew comfortable with the idea of working with these people. And so I was like, all right, Chicago it is. So, hooked up with his attorney, had him create a Series LLC for me. And I plan to use that Series LLC to do multiple investments in Illinois. And so I made my first series and I was like, all right, I'm going to use this to acquire my first investment property. So I get a real estate agent also in Chicago, referred through this program from his broker. And that was in 2021. So this is like May 2021. I just finished the course, create the entity, get the agent, and we start going. Now, I will say the broker told me, hey, this is a brand new agent. So are you comfortable with that? Like, or do you want someone more seasoned? Like most of my seasoned people are tied up right now and you might have to wait a bit. I was like, no, I'm good with the new person. She probably scrappy. And, I feel like sometimes when you're new to something, you have a different hustle than when you're comfortable. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take the new person. And she was like, yeah, don't worry. I'll coach you along the way. Everything's gonna be good. I'm like, all right, bet. So I start with the new person and turns out she actually had a full-time job. So real estate was like her side thing. And she was actually in the process of buying her first house. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this is pretty cool. Like this isn't my first house, but we're kind of on this journey at the same time. So I kind of felt connected to her. And so let's get into the numbers. So I had saved about $58,000 at that point. So I was thinking like, okay, I have some money that I can use for the down payment because I was going to do hard money. So a lot of hard money lenders will require you to pay a down payment on the purchase price plus the rehab. Like they basically combine them and make you pay a portion of the down payment on that. And so I was like, okay, looking at this price point, like in the hundreds, like I'll be prepared to pay that down payment, closing costs, and still have some money left over to start the rehab. That's what I was thinking. So the properties I was looking at in Chicago, I was looking to get a multi-unit, right? And actually force appreciation. So I was trying to add value, right? The BRRRR method. Buy, rehab, refinance. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, right? So that's what I was trying to do. And so I was sending her properties, she had me on her listserv, which basically a lot of the agents will put in your criteria of what you're looking for. And then weekly or daily or however often you set it up, you'll get emails with lists of properties that match your criteria. And so you'll have to go through it and then basically tell the agent which ones you might be interested in. So we were doing that. I was sending her properties. She would respond saying she's definitely going to make appointments to go see them. She was a little busy, whatever. So that happens from May till December, right? So between May and December, I'm looking. And so mind you, I'm not worried about how long it's taking, because in the course I took, the guy who was the leader of the course was like, he saw, I think he says 17 properties before he got his first one, or some number like that. And I was like, all right, like it could take some time to find exactly what you're looking for. So I'm fine with that, you know? So I'm, send to her ones I'm interested in. She's doing her best to keep up, I guess, but some of them she missed. Some of them she didn't have like a good system for showing me the properties. So she'd want to like just take pictures and send them to me, or she'd want to like FaceTime me or whatever. But mind you, I'm also working at the time, so that didn't really work out. But I was trying to work with her and we were trying to figure it out. So December rolls around, I find a property that I think is really good. I send it to her. She's so busy with the closing from her own house and is unable to see it. It becomes pending. I'm pissed, of course, because I'm just like, that could have been me, So anyway, I'm starting to get frustrated with this real estate agent. Now, January rolls around. So now we're in 2022. And mind you, okay, let me back up. So in September of 2021, while all this is happening, I went to Greece and I met up with a friend, met up a bunch of new friends. It was like 14 of us in Greece, and we had such a great time. It was my friend's birthday trip, and we had some amazing conversations. Some of those were about real estate. And my friend who hadn't invested in real estate yet was like, oh my gosh, we should invest together. She did her residency in North Carolina, and she was like, I'm pretty sure that's a good market for Airbnb because there's a lot of traveling nurses and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, bet. Like, I'm on this real estate investing journey too. This would be my, third property, but my first investment property. So this is September 2021. I'm saying this Chicago property is going to be my first investment property, right? That's what I'm thinking. So we decide to invest together and start that the new year. But people talk, right? So I'm thinking like, all right, she's saying all this, but when we get home, let's see what's really popping, right? Let's see what's really going down. So fast forward back to January 2022. So I'm frustrated with this agent in Chicago. I had these conversations with my friend in Greece. Now she hits me up on like January 1st, like, yo, what are we doing? I said, oh, we doing this? Okay. So I was like, bet, look, I'm an action taker. You ain't got to tell me twice. I was like, oh, you trying to invest in North Carolina? Let's look at it. Let's pull some numbers. Let's make a team. Let's get it done. So we over here doing this North Carolina thing, like really moving fast. I'm talking about like she called me on the 1st. We were pre-approved by like the 3rd. Got an agent by the 4th, like looking at properties by the 5th. It was moving. I was so invigorated. I was excited, right? So that's going. And meanwhile, I'm still frustrated with this Chicago agent because I'm just like, what is your problem, right? Like I found an agent in North Carolina and I don't even know her that well, but she's great. Like she's super responsive. She's super organized. She's, making a list of properties, telling me if it's good, if it's not, and why, giving me insights about the neighborhood. And I'm just thinking, what are you doing? Like, why am I? Because, that was only my, second experience really with a real estate agent. So I'm not really sure what to expect or whatever. But then I meet this person from North Carolina and I'm like, no, this is excellent. Like, this is what I should be looking for. So fast forward, the North Carolina one closes, right? So I ended up getting my first investment property in North Carolina in, I think, January or February 2022, even though I had been looking in Chicago for almost a year at that point. So, I mean, that's a little dramatic. It was like 8 months, but still. So in a few weeks, I find something in North Carolina, but then Chicago, like I couldn't find anything in 8 months. And so then I started getting suspicious because I'm like, yo, how is that possible? Like, what's happening? So then I start, asking around like people in the community where I learned about Chicago, like, hey, how's your agent, whatever. And people are saying different things. Like some people are like, yeah, my agent's trash. Some people's like, my agent's on it, And so then I was like, all right, not all agents are created equal. That was one of my first big lessons. And I was just like, wow. And so then the final straw, I sent her a property and I knew I had already run the numbers, and I was confident in my numbers because in this course he taught us how to run our numbers. Okay, so I was confident in my numbers. I was like, no, this is good. I'll be able to afford this even if, you know, the hard money interest rate is crazy, blah blah. So I ran my numbers. I was confident in this house. All I needed her to do was to go look at it, take a video, you know, pictures, send it to me, tell me about the neighborhood, whatever. So I sent this to her, and her response to me, after looking at it, was that, I mean, she wasn't happy with the condition of it, but, you know, that was really none of her business. I was like, I'm going to rehab it, so that's irrelevant, right? So then she had the audacity to say that I can't afford the property. And I was just like, how'd you come to that conclusion? Like, how do you know? Like, you don't even know how much money I got. And so I'm just like, how do you know I can't afford it? And she's like, oh, I think it's over your budget based on other things we've been looking at, blah, blah. I was like, no, I ran the numbers and it's within my budget. And she was just like, oh, I really think you should, you know, you lower your overall budget and really be looking at this and this and that. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm just frustrated because I'm thinking, like, first of all, you just bought your first property. So, like, the fact that you feel bold enough to give me advice on investing is insane. Okay. Now, I get, like, you're an agent and all that, but you barely sold a house. You ain't even sold a house yet, girl. Like, what are we talking about here? So I was just upset, right? Because I'm like, there's no way it should take me 8, 9, 10 months to find something in Chicago. Meanwhile, other people I know that took the course are buying properties left and right. And I'm just like, why am I being left behind? You know, then I reached out to the broker, like, look, it's not really working out. Because I signed this exclusive agent document basically saying, like, the properties that I see within this year, it was like a year long, this agent is going to get the credit for it or something like that. And I was just like, look, I want to terminate this agreement because I can't, like, it's not working. And the broker was, you know, trying to make me not terminate and trying to massage the situation. But look, bro, I was already on top of it. I had already reached out to other people in the course, like, hey, give me your agent's info. Like, do you love them? You know, give me recommendations. I already posted in the group. I was on top of it. I got like 3 recommendations, contacted all of them. And I decided to work with one that I love. But I was like, look, first I need to terminate this other thing. So I told the broker, like, no, yeah, I want to terminate. I'm pretty sure. Let's just move on. You know, I decided to go in a different direction. Key line. So terminate that and have a call with this new agent. I could already tell the vibe is different. Like, this lady also works a full-time job, but you couldn't tell. Okay, you couldn't tell. Like, the way she was talking, it sounded like that was her full-time job. Like, being a real estate agent sounded like it was her full-time job. So we talk on like a Sunday. No, I think it was a Friday. We talked on a Friday. I signed her agent agreement, and then she told me, like, hey, look through the list and then make a list via email of the properties you want me to prioritize and look at. And I'm going to take videos and send them to you. And I'll also confirm via email when those appointments are. It's okay if you can't, you know, see the video live. Like, it'll be archived for you on Instagram. So I was like, huh? But anyway, I was like, all right. So I compiled a list of, I think, like 5 to 8 properties that Sunday. So I met with her on the phone Friday, sent her a list of properties that Sunday. And then literally that Sunday evening, I get an email back with, I think, like 4 out of the 5 or 8 confirmations of appointments to see the properties. And I was just like, that was fast. And she was like, yeah, I'll let you know when I get confirmations of my appointments to see the other ones. But in the meantime, I'll be sending you these. So that's on a Sunday evening. Let me tell you, I think the first appointment was on Tuesday. So what she did was she went live on Instagram, recorded the whole thing, like going through the property, whatever. Didn't say who it was for or anything, but was like, this is for one of my out-of-state investors, you know, recording the property, blah, blah, giving her little comments and anecdotes. I was like, yo, this is lit. So then she posts the live. So now there's a link. So she could just send me the link and I could just watch the live. Genius. I was just like, yo, I love this. Because now it's always there. And if I have someone else that I'm talking to about my journey and what I'm doing, I can also share the link with them and they can see the same thing that I saw. Anyway, I love that. So that happens at the different appointment times throughout the week. And then she would also give me her insights because she is an investor, right? So she would give me her insights on the properties. Like, yes, I think this is good. No, I don't think this is good. Or I think, this is going to require too much, or blah, blah, blah. So going back and forth like that, by the time Friday hit, I was ready to make an offer. So mind you, let's just recap. I meet this lady via phone on Friday. The following Friday, I'm ready to put in an offer. Okay. Now, we put in an offer, and the offer gets accepted like that Sunday. And I'm just like, yo, how? Like, how? How did that happen so fast? And I was working with this other agent, and after all this time, I still couldn't get a property. Like, anyway, so that was an offer for a 2-flat in Chicago. Needed a ton of work. But just the journey of getting there, like just getting to the 2-flat, was so much. So we're gonna have to do this in 2 parts. So this is gonna be part 1, and then part 2 is a whole other situation. Like, I'm gonna tell you from start to finish how this rehab went. Honestly, it was one of the biggest lessons of my life, but also I think a big lesson I needed to learn early as a real estate investor. It was painful, but yeah, I definitely learned my lesson. So stay tuned for that. But just the acquisition alone, like, as you can see, this is why, like, it's taking me a while to talk about this and to create this video, because there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in it, and it was a process. So the process of acquiring a loan was difficult. Now, next time we're going to get into the process of rehabbing it. So this is my very first BRRRR. And it's out of state. So this will have been my 3rd out of state investment. It was a lot happening in 2022. So this was my 3rd investment in 2022. Stay tuned for part 2 for the rehab.